This is the weather for September 3rd, 2002.
Hi, I am Matthew, and I am your meteorologist for September 3rd, 2002, the day I was born. Here's the map for September 3rd, 2002. The line on the map represents isobar lines. An isobar is a line on a weather map that connects areas with the same air pressure adjusted to your elevation. Air pressure is measured in millibars using a barometer. Low pressure is generally any area below 113 millibars, and a high pressure is any area above 113 millibars. And these are millibars. There is a low pressure system in Southern California and eastern Arizona. There was also a low pressure system in northeast Washington State, northern Idaho, and northeastern Montana, and exiting into Canada. Another low-pressure system was in Massachusetts, connecting the parts of New Hampshire and Maine. A low-pressure system brings warm, moist air, which can bring stormy weather. In the northern hemisphere, the wind in a low-pressure system flows counterclockwise toward the center and is labeled low, like this. Often weather maps simply just show the low-pressure system with the red capital L. It swirls, bringing air up. A low-pressure system means it will have cloudy skies and possibly precipitation. There is a high-pressure system in center Colorado, another one in centered Nebraska, Iowa, in southern South Dakota, parts of Missouri, Kansas, and Minnesota. Most of the East Coast and South, except for Florida and New England, also had a high-pressure system. This means there is clear skies and a sunny day. A high-pressure system is a rotating mass of cool, dry air that usually brings sunny weather. In the northern hemisphere, the wind in a high-pressure system flows clockwise away from the center and is labeled high. It is often represented by a blue capital H. Usually, the L and H pressure system are behind a front. A front is a boundary between two different air masses, resulting in stormy weather. A front usually is a line of separation between warm and cold air masses. A cold front is symbolized by a blue triangle that is connected to many other triangles, and the point of the triangle is facing where the front is going. The first cold front is in northwest and will go to southeast. The second cold front is in the Midwest and will go further southeast. A warm front is symbolized by a red half circle. The round half circle part represents the direction the warm front is moving. A warm front is a slow-moving, warm air that can overtake a cold front. A stationary front, like this, has both symbols but going the opposite direction from each other. A stationary front is where cold and warm air meet and neither side wants to budge. It leaves stormy weather for days. Fronts are caused by air masses. An air mass is a huge body of air that has similar temperature, humidity, and air pressure. A continental air mass is on land. There are two continental air masses, one tropical and one polar. Tropical air masses bring warm air and polar air masses bring cold air. The maritime is another air mass, but is on water. It also has a polar and tropical air mass. The northwest front is caused by a maritime polar air mass, and the Midwest cold front is caused by a continental polar air mass. Now let's talk about precipitation, water droplets from the warm air. As the warm air rises into the sky, it cools. Water vapor always exists in our air. Warm air holds quite a bit of water and more than cool it, which is why in the summer, when it rains, it pours, and in the winter it can snow often, but usually just light snow. When enough of these drops come together, we see them as a cloud. If the clouds are big enough and have water droplets, the droplets come together and form an even bigger drop. When the drop gets big enough, they fall because of gravity, and you see it rain or snow depending on the temperature. When clouds develop or rain occurs, something is making air rise. Several things can make this happen, like mountains, low pressure areas, cold fronts, and even the jet stream. The last thing I want to talk about is temperature. The daily temperature is usually measured on a daily high or maximum and a daily low or minimum. The temperature map shows the range of temperatures through color. Red means hot and blue means cold. Each color is meant to cover a range of temperatures. For example, the deepest red is the temperature range over 100 degrees. On September 3rd, 2002, a small part of Arizona had a maximum temperature over 100 degrees. From California to Missouri and down to Louisiana, the maximum temperature was 90 and 100, which is colored red. Parts of Washington State, Montana, parts of Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and upper Michigan had a maximum temperature between 70 and 80 degrees, which is shown in yellow. From Maine down to North Carolina, the maximum temperature was also 70 to 80 degrees. The orange band in between had a temperature of between 80 to 90 degrees. North Dakota, parts of Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Minnesota had a minimum temperature of 40 to 50 degrees, which is shown in blue. The green color, which is stretched from the Canadian border to northern California through parts of Wisconsin and also parts of New England, had a minimum temperature of 50 to 60 degrees. Parts of Arizona, from Texas to Florida, had a minimum temperature of 70 to 80, which is colored in orange. All the other areas, colored in yellow, had a minimum of between 60 to 70 degrees. That concludes the weather. I am Matthew Seaman, signing off, and thanks for watching.